could be missing out on council tax discounts.
The money-saving expert Martin Lewis has been campaigning on this, and he joins us now from our London newsroom with some news about changes being made in Wales to help make it easier for people to claim that money back. Good morning to you, Martin. Lovely to speak to you on the programme.
Morning.
Give us sort of a broad brush to start with. What's the issue, and why were you sort of looking into this?
OK, so the first thing to say is someone who has a severe mental impairment, which is a substantial problem with social functioning that is medically diagnosed. It's common with conditions such as dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's or a stroke. If they're also eligible for certain benefits, can be what's called disregarded for council tax purposes, much like students and under 18s are disregarded for council tax purposes. So therefore, if they're living by themselves, they're entitled to pay no council tax. Or, as is more common, if they're living with one other adult, who's usually their carer, then they're entitled to, the household shall get what's equivalent to the single person's 25% off council tax, which is equivalent to around £400 a year off. And what also happens in some councils, which is very important for many people watching, is if you claim this, some, not all, it's a postcode lottery, will allow you to backdate the claim from your first diagnosis, which is why since we first started campaigning on this issue and wrote our first guide a couple of years ago, we've had many people get in touch and say, I've got £5,000, £6,000, £7,000 of council tax back. Now, as this is for some of the country's most vulnerable people, and that money is meant to be there to try and help people live their lives with a substantial problem, it's crucially important. Problem is, we went in, did a mystery shopping exercise a couple of years ago. 69 out of 100 councils gave the wrong information. 5 of them said the discount doesn't even exist. There's a massive take-up difference. Some places you're 77 times more likely to be claiming this than elsewhere, which is not sorted out by demographic features. And what basically happens is there's been abominable lack of communication, poor processing, putting people off claiming this crucial discount, which possibly over 100,000 people should be eligible for and aren't claiming. But today in Wales, it's all changing.
Well, that's what I wanted to get to next. You're talking about a really substantial sum of money for quite a few people. So what are Wales doing? What are they getting right that others aren't?
Well, they're following all the recommendations we put in our report that we wrote 2 years ago. Frankly, being really honest, the first thing they did is proper communication, a decent leaflet, not just at councils, in doctors' surgeries as well, a single website for all councils across Wales. And what I'm going to Cardiff later today to launch with the Finance Minister is the fact that from now in Wales, there'll be a single application form which we've helped them design, which makes it much easier for people to apply for this, and a consistent backdating policy so that if you are eligible for an SMI discount, because there's sort of an acceptance, the problem is it hasn't been communicated properly, that's why people aren't claiming it, you will get it backdated automatically from the first point you were eligible. There's not that postcode lottery. And what's fascinating about Wales is the law in Wales is identical to the law in England. So everything that's being done in Wales today could be being done across English councils, but isn't. And I hope the Minister, James Brokenshire, who is responsible for this, and the local government authority or association who we've been talking to are listening. We need to help these vulnerable people. It's just a process and communication issue. It's not a change in the law. It's easy to sort out. I'm not supposed to say this, but Scotland, by the way, have sort of given us very warm indications that things will be improving there soon.
OK, what about, I suppose, the flip side of this? Is there a sort of responsibility on individuals who maybe these discounts are in line for these discounts, or people who are supporting those who are in line for those discounts? What about the responsibility on us and them to maybe know about this? Is it just a council issue?
Well, I think it's worth saying, of course, this is a severely mentally impaired discount, a discount for people whose intellectual and social functioning is a problem. So we shouldn't...
That's why I mentioned those who are looking after those as well.
It is their carers, but carers are already very heavily stretched. There's lots carers themselves don't know about, things like carers allowance, which is totally underclaimed as well. And I go back to our mystery shopping research, which showed 5 councils, when we called up and asked about this, said you can't get that discount, it doesn't exist. incorrectly, and 69 of 100 gave out wrong information, talked about the wrong discount, told us we weren't eligible when we were eligible, or mystery shoppers. Well, you understand they weren't really eligible, but that was the test that we were doing.
Yeah.
So while there's an obligation, yes, lots of people have been put off, and we've had people who applied for it in the past, got rejected, and when they read our information, went back and said, no, you're wrong, and now get it. So what Wales is doing is right. And I think, again, many people with these conditions live a very tough life. They are under law allowed and given a discount for exactly that reason, and councils shouldn't be putting it off. I don't think this is deliberate and malicious by councils. Frankly, I just think it's a bit crap, and we need to sort it out, and that's what we're campaigning to do. But just as Wales is a beacon of light now, actually trying to say we recognise this discount is important, we're going to give it to everyone, we need to shine that same light on England, and I'm hoping that the people who can do it are watching your programme.
Martin, I know you're a telly professional, so can you give us a sort of 25-second answer, if possible? What should people do if they're watching this and thinking, OK, that applies to me, to a member of my family, to a friend of mine?
Well, if you're in Wales, go to the SMI website in Wales that gives you all the information. If you're in the rest of the UK, I probably shouldn't do this, but there's a full guide to it on moneysavingexpert.com, which will take you through it. And then once you've read that, because you need to know the right rules, get in touch with your council. You'll need a medical diagnosis and talk to them and make an application for the discount and hopefully the backdated payout, but you won't get it everywhere.
Impeccable timing. Thank you very much. It's Martin Lewis. And we should say the Ministry for Housing says anyone who believes they may be entitled to any form of support or discount can check with their local authority, and that's Ministry for Housing in England, we should say. So which tallies with what Martin was telling us.
Coming up in the next half an hour, we're speaking to